The story of Noah's flood is an iconic Bible story. Many people have seen picture book images of a wooden boat full of animals. The 2014 movie Noah attracted millions of viewers and was highly praised for bringing a timeless tale into the 21st century. The biblical account of the flood is truly an epic story. The story also raises a lot of questions. How did Noah build such a large ship? Would the ark really have been seaworthy? How did Noah collect all the animals? How did Noah fit all the animals onto the ark? Did Noah take dinosaurs on the ark? Many of these questions have been addressed on Everlasting Truths before. Recently, another question was submitted to the website that has not yet been answered at Everlasting Truths. How did Noah feed all the animals on the ark? I am Dave Chambers, the pastor of Manistic Bible Church. Today's question is one the Bible does not answer directly. We have some biblical information from which we can draw a few reasonable conclusions, but we do not have any direct statements that we can rely on to give a definite answer explaining how Noah fed all the animals during their year on the ark. I'm going to give you the best answer I can, but this answer is not taught in the Bible, and others may have a better answer. Contrary to the popular opinion about the flood, God did not tell Noah to take onto the ark 2 of every species of animal. In Genesis 6, God told Noah to take 2 of every kind of animal. That word kind is the same used in Genesis 1, which means that Noah had to take a breeding pair of every animal. Instead of a pair of lions, a pair of tigers, cheetahs, leopards, jaguars, mountain lions, lynx, bobcats, and house cats, Noah would have taken only 2 members of the cat family. He would have done the same for every other genus or family of animals. As a result, instead of taking millions of animals onto the ark, Noah probably would have had to take 10 to 15,000 animals on board the ark. That's still a lot of mouths to feed for an entire year. In addition is the problem of feeding meat-eating animals and preserving their food for a full year. Today, an incredibly small number of animals require a meat-only diet. It's just the carnivorous cats. All other animals can survive easily on plant-based diets. In addition, the world wars of the 20th century showed that even carnivorous cats survive for several years on plant-based protein substitutes. Noah may not have needed to bring any meat onto the ark for food. But even if he did, smoked or dried meat would have been sufficient for those few animals who require meat to survive. The great majority of animals could have lived fine for a year on plant diets. The problem of space for food storage is not as big a problem as it may seem at first. The ark had enough room to house at least twice as many animals as it needed to carry. This means the ark had room for large stores of food. The Bible does not tell us what kind of food Noah brought on board the ship. It does tell us that Noah was commanded to gather sufficient food for all the animals. In Genesis 6:21, God told Noah, "And you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them." The next verse says Noah did all that God commanded. So Noah built an ark and gathered sufficient supplies for his family and all the animals on board, just as he was told. Given the situation, it seems likely that Noah would have selected food that could be stored for a long period of time, could be packed densely, and would provide a high nutrition content to allow each animal to survive on less food. The possibility also exists that some of the animals went into a sort of hibernation during the flood year. The animals would have been kept below decks where it was dark. All the precipitation probably resulted in cooler air temperatures outside the ark. The combination of decreased sunlight and cooler temperatures would have been ideal for many animals to go into a kind of semi-hibernation. If this happened, even less food would have been required and less time spent distributing the food. And as far as the actual feeding of the animals goes, with a little careful planning, Noah and his 7 family members would have been adequate to feed all the animals. The use of simple self-feeding systems would have worked for many animals, so that Noah's family would not have had to feed every animal every day. A careful layout which stored the animal's food near its enclosure would have greatly reduced the amount of work needed. 8 people would have been sufficient to care for all the animals on the ark. In all of this, we have to remember that God promised to preserve Noah, his family, and the animals on the ark during the flood year. Noah had responsibilities he had to fulfill, but the ultimate responsibility for their survival rested upon God. The story of the flood is fascinating for many reasons. But more important than figuring out how everything worked is recognizing that God keeps his promises. He promised to send judgment and destroy the world in a flood, and that's what he did. He promised to preserve Noah and all who were on the ark, and that's what he did. He promised after the flood to never again destroy the entire world with the flood, and he has kept that promise. The record of Noah's flood shows us that God is faithful. You can trust his every promise. Thank you for watching. If you have more questions, you can find answers and ask your questions at everlastingtruths.com. Follow us on Facebook for more biblical answers to your questions.